Joining us now, Republican Congressman from the 5th District of Virginia, Robert Hurt. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thank you, John, for having me on your program.
Always an honor, sir. Congressman, I want to go to the Iraqi situation. President Obama announcing and now deploying limited airstrikes against ISIS. The Iraqi government, though, on the verge of a chaotic situation. What do you think of President Obama's plan, and is it even a plan?
I would suggest that you haven't seen anything that approaches the sort of plan that we need, a long-term strategy that we need. I haven't seen anything that gives the American people or, frankly, our allies and those on the ground who are most affected by this, should give them any confidence that we're really going to do anything other than this military intervention that prevents what seems to be the inevitable. And I think that that's regrettable. Obviously, we have an obligation to try to protect any American citizens and American property in that region, and our military is, God bless them for what they do to get that done, and we thank them for that. But I think that the situation itself is representative of what this president has failed to articulate and failed to execute in the foreign policy arena, and we are now paying the price for it. And I think that has to be said. And I think it should be a clarion call to his administration and to him and to the State Department and to the Pentagon to come together and develop a long-term strategy that the American people can bank on, that our allies can bank on, allies who heretofore I think have been very discouraged by this president's lack of a long-term plan and that long-term commitment. The Middle East seems to me just to be a disaster right now in every direction, and from Gaza to Iraq, and then to what I think is the greatest threat to our peace here in the United States, Iran. And so it's regrettable, and I think that we all need to call on the president to develop a long-term strategy that we can have confidence in.
Congressman, in the short term, what do you think we ought to do in Iraq with the ISIS situation? Nobody seems to be in the mood to send in ground troops, but there are many now suggesting in Congress, John McCain being one of them, that we need just a more robust response, and we need to take the position that rather than stop ISIS from expanding, that we want to wipe them out. How do we do that without troops?
Yeah, I think that if we're going to do, if we're going to make that commitment, I think we've seen in the past under previous administrations and previous conflicts that the only way to do that is to get on the ground. You really can't do that just with air power, and I'm very queasy about the idea that we have air power over there, simply because obviously each one of those planes is flown by a pilot, and they may not be on the ground, but they're pretty close to the ground, and that concerns me. I don't know what the right answer is. Obviously, again, that's why we have highly experienced, highly decorated people who work both in the State Department and in the Pentagon, who need to be able to support the president and come together with a long-term strategy that works. And I would hope that we could come up with a plan that is short of putting boots on the ground. But I think that we always have to leave everything on the table. One going back to what I said earlier, though, I think it again highlights the failure of this president's foreign policy, that we have so few diplomatic options open. I mean, and that's the problem. When your allies don't trust you, and you can't build coalitions, and you can't use diplomatic power, the only thing that you have left is military power. When you don't have economic power, when you don't have economic sanctions that are useful, all that leaves you with is military power, and nobody wants to go there. But we are where we are, and we're going to have to do what we have to do again to protect our interests. And ultimately, that means protecting our interests from a growing terrorist regime that seeks to destroy our country and our people.
Common Sense News Time is 7:17. This is the John Fredericks Show. We're with Congressman Robert Hurt, Republican, 5th District of Virginia. He's on the Financial Services Committee. Congressman, I want to get to stay with the Iraqi situation here right now. The government of Prime Minister Maliki basically disintegrating, but he's holding on to power, but it's not a democratic process. What is your position on Maliki's situation, and is he part of the problem there?
Oh, I think he's absolutely part of the problem. But the harder question is what do we do about it? What can we do about it? And I think again that goes back to the statement I made earlier, and that is it would be really nice to have a whole lot more diplomatic tools in the toolbox to help this work out the right way. But I think that he is absolutely part of the problem. I think that he is in many ways in sort of a perfect storm. When you look at where this group comes from in Syria, and then you look at the fact that we had this prime minister who I think fanned those flames of sectarianism that have grown up and gotten, and now you have a 5-alarm fire as a consequence. And so I think he's absolutely part of the problem. And it seems that the administration is now signaling that they want to promote the new prime minister, and that may be the right thing to do. But it strikes me that again, when you go back to and look at the confidence that people on the ground and our allies and the American people have in America's ability to lead, I don't think we're where we want to be.
Well, look, Congressman, Maliki's the guy that the administration basically had the confidence in when we took all the troops out of Iraq. I mean, you've got to ask yourself now, you have to second guess some of this stuff and said, if we had 30,000 troops there, would ISIS be in the situation that they're in? He took all of them out. Now what do we do? But part of the philosophy is that they had confidence in that government to be able to execute security, and obviously they're incapable of that.
Right, and I think I think this administration also failed in really working to get a status of forces agreement and insisting upon that when we withdrew, because that would have given us an opportunity to try to help make sure that this doesn't happen. And now we're seeing the worst. I mean, and frankly, it was completely foreseeable. And obviously, this prime minister is one that obviously strikes me as a person who is out to serve his own personal interests, his own personal gain, as opposed to actually working for a peaceful Iraq.
5th District Republican of the House of Representatives serving on the Financial Services Committee. By the way, in case we run out of time, here's where to get more information. Go to HURT, that's HURT, hurt.house.gov. First thing you want to do is sign up for his newsletter. Great stuff. hurt.house.gov. Can't get any easier than that. Back with Congressman Hurt. Let's get to the Israeli situation. Inconceivable to me that John Kerry is running around the Middle East trying to broker a deal that does not disarm Hamas when their objective is to wipe out Israel. You look at these tunnels, they're firing rockets at Tel Aviv. What is the thinking that goes on with these people? Because the average person, Congressman, can't figure it out. Trust me.
Well, and I think that a lot of that's driven, of course, by the horribly uninformed and unbalanced media coverage that takes place. I mean, what we see from the media is a moral equivalency between what Hamas does and what Israel does to defend itself. Mm-hmm. Hamas is clearly the aggressor here. Israel is clearly acting in self-defense. Israel has got a good defense system. Instead of deploying a defense system, Hamas uses children in schools and hospitals as its defense system and as its propaganda that's spread to the pliant media across the world that doesn't tell the story correctly. And so I think it's our obligation to stand with the state of Israel that is literally fighting for its existence, its right to exist, and it's a peaceful nation. And I think we need to stand with them. And I'd like to see our administration be stronger, have a little more backbone about it, as opposed to being mealy-mouthed and vacillating and trying to be all things to all people. Stand up for the right thing and stand up for a policy that supports peace-loving people, and that's what Israel is.
Congressman Hurt, what are the long-term ramifications of getting the Iranians involved in defending Iraq?
I think that we have to be very careful in getting involved with Iran in any way, shape, or form. You've already pointed out some of the, when you look back at the America's support for Prime Minister Maliki early on, you see how confusing and complex this gets so quickly. Mm-hmm. I think we have to remember that we shouldn't do anything to recognize Iran, support Iran in any way, shape, or form, and because of they have made it clear that their design is to obtain a nuclear weapon and to be able to use that weapon to destroy Israel and to destroy the United States. And the idea that our administration is currently engaged in negotiations to allow the Iranians to enrich uranium for the purposes of, quote, nuclear energy is just a joke, in my opinion. It's a joke. The idea that we would allow them to have the capability to use nuclear energy in any way, shape, or form, I think is a mistake, and we will regret it. Mm-hmm. Instead, we should insist that if they want electricity, they can buy Virginia coal.
They can buy Virginia coal, provided that the Obama EPA legislation doesn't shut down every coal plant in Virginia. Congress left town, recess, without any sort of an immigration plan. Meantime, it's kind of gotten off the front pages with everything going on in the Middle East, but these migrants keep coming over every day. There's no end in sight. The other problem is we don't know who else is coming over. I have talked to so many people that are there right now saying that thousands a day people are coming over. The government has no idea who they are. They could be ISIS. They could be anybody. How do we stop this?
Well, a good step would be for the Senate to take up the House bill that we voted on in bipartisan. It wasn't a wide bipartisan margin, but it was a bipartisan margin when we left a week ago. If the Senate would take that bill up, and that would be a good first start. In that bill, what we did was we did a couple of things. Number one, we commit resources to actually securing the border, not resources designed and to support a bureaucracy that promotes the problem. We need to get the National Guard on the border in the near term, and then finally we've got to fix the laws that have and the executive orders that this president has relied upon to have this open border policy. And it's more than an open border policy. I mean, let's be clear. It's an engraved invitation policy, a policy that invites people to come from these other countries to cross our border illegally. And and this whole issue, I think, also speaks to the larger picture, and that is this: this president has a very low regard for the rule of law. And when he turns up his nose at the American rule of law, laws that have been adopted duly by Congress in previous years, what he is doing is he is sending a signal to the rest of the world that we don't respect our laws, and so you shouldn't have to either. And I think that that's regrettable.